everybody, welcome to this final tutorial of this first week. So I've been slightly disingenuous with you all with this first sort of set of tutorials. There is actually a much quicker and easier way of making these crawl lines that go around clips online. Which is what we're going to be talking about in this tutorial. The reason why I wanted you to undertake the other tutorial was primarily for people who haven't come across After Effects before, haven't used it, and I just wanted to sort of introduce you to the idea of layers and making solids and moving them around using stopwatches. You know, that was the whole idea. You know, so and I think it creates an interesting effect. However, as I say, for those of you who are this way, sort of minded this way, and want to sort of actually produce this kind of content, there is a quicker way of doing it, although it is slightly more technical. So if you're interested in that, this is the tutorial for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up a new composition just like before, 1080 by 1080, 30 frames per second, white background. That all works for me, and a minute long. Good. We're going to go to there, and here's our footage, which I've already brought in earlier, so I'm going to drag that down, and there we are. Okay, so I can just position that wherever I like. There we go, that'll do. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a tool that we haven't talked about yet, which we're going to be using in future weeks. And what we're going to be using is this pen tool here. Now it's really important when you select the pen tool that you make sure that you haven't got any layers selected here, because if you do, then what you're doing is you're actually going to be masking out part of the footage, and that's not what we want. We want to create something over the top of the footage today. So you've got sort of control bits here, so the fill and stroke for the shape we're about to make. It's much easier if you kind of just see me do it first of all to see what these do, and then you're going to hopefully get the idea. So I'm going to start off by clicking up here on this corner like so, and then I'm going to move down to this corner. It doesn't, I'm going to be a bit rough with it, it's not the end of the world. I might be more precise if I was doing it for proper upload. Click that to there, and then finally back to there. And hopefully you can see what's happened here is that we've now created a square shape over the top of our footage, and this has been filled with this green color, and the stroke, the line, is also this orange color. Now I can do whatever I want. I can change the fill color if I was that way inclined. I'm actually going to get rid of the fill later on, so don't worry about that for now, but that was just to show you can do it. And then with the stroke, you can change the color of that if you want to, you know, and that's all fine. I'm going to go for this zesty orange. That looks fine to me. Okay, you can also make the stroke bigger, or you can make it smaller just by figuring out the amount of pixels that you're going to use. Okay, so that looks fine to me. Now then, what we're going to do is we've now got our video layer, which we're going to right click and rename source video, and then here's our shape layer. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up shape layer, and I'm going to open up contents and shape 1. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my fill, and I'm just going to click the fill button, fill section, and I'm just going to hit backspace just to get rid of it. Okay, because I don't need that. So now I can see my footage through my shape. What we're going to do is we're basically going to get After Effects to draw this shape in a continuous movement. That's the idea. So what we can do is we can open up the stroke properties here, and we can tell it how we want it to progress. So we can kind of go with things like you can have a rounded end to the line as it draws, or you can have a projecting cap. I'm going to have a projecting cap, and then just you can have whatever joins you want. So you can make it go around a sort of curve around the corner, or you can make it just a straight line, or you can make it stop and start again, whichever, you know, just select different versions, and that's fine. So now what you're going to do is you're going to come up to top here, and you're going to click this excuse me, you're going to click this add button, and you're going to come down to trim paths. So now what we've got is we've got our stroke values. We're going to leave that open for now because we're going to be using that again in a minute. And we're going to open up trim paths, and we're going to make sure that our playhead marker is right at the beginning of our clip. And we're going to put a stopwatch on end, not start. Slightly counterintuitive, just on end. Okay, and then we're going to whack that right down to 0. Okay, then what we're going to do is going to move our playhead all the way through to the end of our clip, like so. There's our play area, so we can move that. Oops, should have done that earlier, shouldn't I? Bad form, James. Move that to the end of our content here. So this is our clip. This is just the shape layer, that'll go on forever. But this is our content, so that's it, fits there. I can move right to the end, and now all I'm going to do is move that back one there like that, is I'm just going to go back to my end and I'm going to put that all the way up to 100%, and lo and behold, you see it drew us a line. So now if we slide the playhead marker back, we can see that line is progressing. And so this is what I was saying earlier. I mean, a little sort of pro tip here for using After Effects. I can't remember whether I mentioned it in one of the previous tutorials, is if you hold down Shift, Command and H, that gets rid of all the guides and everything else on your screen, so you can just see what you're doing. Okay, so at the moment, if we play it through, we can see that it's got a flat edge and it just starts again with that corner. If I went to round cap and round join, for example, then you can see it's got a curved edge, and it should also curve when we go round the corner. It's not doing it, but partially because it's a bit small, but it would do, as in the pixels I've got are too small. But if I had moved my points inside the image rather than right on the edge, you probably would see that. Anyway, that's that. So here's our clip then, and you can see, dial the volume down, you can see it progressing nicely through the clip. Now you can see what's happened here is, obviously, unlike the previous one, I've got my line actually on the footage, but that's fine, because all you need to do is just do the same thing again. You can just make another shape with a white layer underneath, or you could do it as we've done it before by resizing the footage and chopping the top and bottom off. Entirely up to you. But yeah, so you can make like a white or whatever color you want sort of background, so you can watch this walk along it, or you can just have it entirely on top of your content. It's entirely up to you. Now, the nice thing about doing this process is you can actually also make changes to that line. So what I can do is I can go into my stroke properties, close that up just to make it look a bit cleaner, a bit easier to follow, and I could go into, let's say, wave, for example. So instead of a straight line, I can say I want to have it as being a wave. You know, if you were doing something for kids or something, I don't know. Okay, and then you can adjust your wavelength, so you can adjust it to be nice and sort of smooth, or you can make it really spiky like that, like teeth. You know, it's entirely up to you, whatever you want to do. Okay, and then what will happen is it'll just, as you can see, it just sort of like just draws those lines as you go around the footage. Okay, so you can do all sorts of things. There's tapers and dashes and things like that you can play around with to help you to sort of come up with some interesting bits and bobs. I think there's even a way of getting other content into this line as well if you wanted to. But, you know, I think that we'll leave this for today, so that's probably a bit more advanced. Okay, so that's our tutorial. Obviously you can just add another one of those if you want it to grow like we did before, so going up and to the side at the same time. This one obviously just marches around the clip, but if you wanted to have it going up and across at the same time so that it you know, converges on the edge like so, then you can do, you just add another one, you know. Okay, so I hope for today's first foray into After Effects, particularly if you've never used it before, has been an interesting one. I hope it's sort of given you a bit of a kind of taster about how it works, and also whetted your appetite for more, because we're going to be doing some lovely things over the course of the next few weeks. So yeah, so I look forward to seeing what you come up with today, and I look forward to seeing what you come up with in future weeks. Nice one.